Hare Krishna. Welcome to
Hare.
the Bhagavad Gita series. Hare Krishna. So let us start with Mangalacharan prayers. We will be completing chapter 7 for sure. And then we will start chapter 8 hopefully as well. So I will share my screen and we can go through the Mangalacharan prayers. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenbandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so we will start with verse number 27. I think that's where we left off at 26 of the Bhagavad Gita Chapter 7. Very, very important verse. Before that, just a quick context to be set. At this time of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Shri Krishna is describing what are the various impediments in one's surrender to Lord Krishna. As he had said earlier, Daivihi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Maam Eva Ye Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. That is the central verse of 7th chapter, 7.14. Let me share my screen. Okay, please let me know if it is visible. Is it? Okay, great, thank you. So 7.14 is the central verse of chapter 7. And the central theme there is Mam eva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. The second line is is the more important one between the two. The first one is saying this Maya is very hard to overcome, Mam Maya Duratyaya. But the process or the secret to cross the Maya is Mam eva ye prapadyante. Those who surrender, prapadyante means surrender, Mam eva, those who surrender to me, Maya metam tarantite, Maya ko tar jate hain. They can cross tarantite of the Maya. So that is this. Now there are many hindrances, many blocks of various kinds to people who do not want to surrender to Krishna. And we have studied many of them. Now there are We studied the qualities of pure devotee also in 7.17 and 7.19, pure devotees of Krishna, pure bhaktas, who are nitya yukta eka bhaktir vishishyate, Lord Krishna says in 7.17. And 7.19, he says, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a devotee is very, very rare. Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavan Mam Prapadyate. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. A person who considers Vasudeva Sarvam iti, that Vasudeva is everything. He is a very rare soul, Durlabha person. Then Lord Krishna from 20 onwards goes on to describe the various people who have impediments in spiritual progress. And two main categories we discussed, 7.20 to 7.23, those who are worshipping Anya Devatas, the Devis and Devatas, for material benefits. They get those material benefits, but these people's main interest is material benefits. And when they get material benefits, they even forget the Devi Devata. They just get busy in enjoying. They are not even fully devoted to the Devis and Devatas. And then 7.24 to 7.26, the discussion was about impersonalists. Impersonalists or avyaktam. Sorry, I wrote it in Devanagari. Avyaktam. Avyaktam vyaktim apannam. Those who think that the reality, the absolute reality, the absolute truth is avyakta, is unmanifest, is some energy, some light. Vyaktim apannam. Now it has taken the form of a vyakti, a person like me, Krishna. So when Lord Krishna says that when somebody thinks like that, then he is abuddhaya. He is without intelligence. To these Anya Devatas, he calls them alpa buddhaya, alpa medhasa. But for the next one, he says they are abuddhi, no buddhi at all. Anyway, so this is where we stopped. We had a good discussion on impersonalism and so on last week, or 2 weeks back. Last week, sorry, I had to cancel because too much was going on. And I just didn't find time to have the class or prepare for it either. So that's where we stopped. Now let's start today's discussion, which is, so this was a quick sort of a recap of where we are so that you remember the context of where we are. 7.27, sort of the general reason why people do not surrender to Krishna. The general reason why people do not surrender to Krishna, sort of putting it all together. And what is that general reason? Very nicely, Lord Krishna says in one word, he summarizes the general reason. That general reason is Ichha Dvesha Samuthena. That one line summarizes everything. Ichha, I-C-C-H-A, Ichha Dvesha Samuthena. Ichha Dvesha Samuthena. That whole approach, or that whole consciousness to be averse to Krishna, to not surrender to Krishna, is coming from Ichha and Dvesha. Samuthena means together. So Ichha plus together, plus Dvesha. Samuthena. Dvanda mohena bharata. So, okay, you all understand Ichha and Dvesha. Ichha means desires. And dvesha means hatred. So desires means I want. Correct? Hatred mean I do not want. So things that I want and things I do not want. That's all our life is. In between these two things, I want this, I do not want this. I want this, I do not want this. It's all about, the common thing is I. It's all about me. What I want, what I like, what I don't want, what I don't like, etc. Dvanda mohena bharata. And one is trapped in this dvanda mohena. Dvanda mohena means duality. This is the duality. I like this, I don't like this. And we are trapped in that. We cannot see with equal vision. We cannot take things as they are. We are the biggest judges, bigger than the Supreme Court judges. We always judge everything. And that is the duality, dvanda mohena. And that moha is the illusion. So I will write it here. The illusion of duality. The illusion of duality. What that means is that there is actually no duality. We have made up those dualities. So it is an illusion. Moha is illusion. Moha doesn't mean love. Love means prema. Moha means illusion or love that comes out of illusion. False love, you can think of it like that. That is moha. Or love that will ultimately betray you or will give you pain. That is called moha. Illusion is a close English synonym. And things may not be so bad, or things are not inherently bad or good, but we make them bad and good. I want this, I don't want this. So dvanda mohena bharata. So due to this illusion of I want this and I hate this, or I don't want this, I want this, that is the fundamental reason why people do not surrender to Krishna. Because people are too trapped within their own things. Sarva bhutani sammohan sarge yanti parantapa. So sarva bhutani sammoham, all living entities, sarva bhutani, nobody, of course, except for the pure devotees. There are few pure devotees in this world. Except for them, sarva bhutani, all living entities, sammoham, are in this moha, in this trapped in this illusion, sammoham, sarge yanti parantapa. And they are trapped in this. Sarge means ever since they were born, ever since their existence, they are trapped in this illusion, sammoham. So this word moha is coming twice. Dvanda mohena bharata and sammoham. Sarva bhutani sammoham. So that moha is trapping us. So let us see what is this moha. This moha, or let me write it differently, dvanda moha. Illusion of duality. Okay. The fundamental illusion of duality is at the most fundamental level. At the most fundamental level. This dvanda moha is ichha and dvesha. Ichha of what? Enjoy or desire, let me put it that way. Desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. That is ichha. I want to enjoy. They do not realize that real enjoyment is together with Krishna, in doing things that please Krishna. Because Krishna is ultimately sitting in our heart. And if we please Krishna, our heart itself will be full of happiness and pleasure. We don't realize that we are simply trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. That is the Ichha part. And Dvesha part is hatred or resentment of Krishna's position as the enjoyer. That is the hatred. Now you can say, so we can, now this verse 7.27 is very, very heavy. I have almost 4 pages of notes on this verse. I don't know how much to cover, but we can go for very, very long time, but we do want to finish chapter 7 today. So please ask questions and we can deal with it as question answers. But Krishna's position as enjoyer, Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. He says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. I am the bhokta, I am the receiver of all the yagyas, bhoktaram yajna tapasam, all the yagyas, all the tapas, all the hard work that we do which produces fruit, all the enjoyment that it produces. I am the ultimate enjoyer of all those things. You may think you are the enjoyer, but ultimately I am enjoying. So that hatred, why is Krishna the enjoyer? In this Ichha to enjoy separately from Krishna. When we enjoy together with Krishna, we are very happy. But once that small thought, please pay very careful attention here. That small thought enters into the mind. Wait a minute. Why do I have to share my enjoyment with Krishna? Can't I have it all? I am enjoying. There is tremendous amount of enjoyment along with Krishna, but one thinks, can't I become Krishna? That is a higher position. How much ever he may be enjoying today. So you may think that, based on your position today, you may think, oh, if I enjoy this much more, I will be perfectly happy. I won't want anything. I don't need anything. But no, that is not the truth. History shows, our Shastras also show, Shastras are nothing but history. Or our Shastras are not history, but Shastras contain a lot of history. Shastras are transcendental knowledge, but history is also knowledge. We can learn from historical figures like Hiranyakashipu. He's a historical figure, not a mythological figure. And we saw that his desires had no limits. Once you get something, you want always more, 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 more. There is absolutely no limits. And the only limit becomes, I want to truly become God. There cannot be even one person who can be called above me. Everyone has to be called below me. So Hiranyakashipu was able to subdue Indra and all the demigods. They would shiver. Even when Hiranyakashipu would blink his eyelids, they would shiver. Palak jhapakte hi kaapte the. But there was one person who he could not control, which is Lord Vishnu and his devotee, Prahlad. And that made him so mad that he wanted to kill his son. And in that process, he himself got destroyed. Look at what is happening today in Russia. It's a very prosperous country. There is nothing to be had. People were living nicely, and it's not the people's fault, but look at the leader. There's always this, I want this, I want this, I want this. It's not like there is any poverty there, or by conquering this other country, the life of its citizens will become much better. No, it is just that hunger for domination. There is this one person or group of people that I want to dominate. Prabhutva. This is called Prabhutva. And one is always trying to increase one's Prabhutva. Always. And that is the fundamental ichha. That is the ichha. And dvesha is the hatred for the person who is sitting in that position today, which is Krishna. One cannot tolerate, how can he sit there? I want to dethrone him and take his place. At the most fundamental level, none of you are at that level because you could not get to that level. Given a chance, you would think like that. Nobody here is as great as Hiranyakashipu. You are everybody, and I don't want to say you, it includes me. We are all little Hiranyakashipus, always trying to increase our sphere of Prabhutva, domination of others. So in our own sense, we are small, little Hiranyakashipus. But please realize that the end is that one will always even want to dominate over God. And that is the fundamental dvesha. Okay, so we all have some part of ichha and dvesha, samuthena, together. Ichha and dvesha, ichha and dvesha. We all have it in varying degrees. And that is the cause of our unwillingness to surrender to Krishna to that extent. Okay, so please try to understand that. Now, this verse also goes into a very important other question. So what did this verse, so to summarize what we discussed so far in the last 15 minutes, this verse is summarizing the general reason why one does not surrender to Krishna. And then one can easily cross maya metam tarantite, but no, people are not willing to cross. Kindly mute yourself. Somebody, let me see quickly. Okay, looks like everybody got muted. Thanks. So the fundament, so where was I? Yeah, so this verse is talking about that fundamental reason for non-surrender. Now the question is, Sarge Yanti Parantapa, the last line, that we are all Sarva Bhutani Sammoham, all living entities, Sarva Bhutani are born into this illusion of duality, Sammoham, Sarge Yanti Parantapa. From time immemorial, they are born, since the time they were born. Now the question is, when were you born? Now you can say, I can see some Prabhujis, Matajis, looks like somebody is born 60 years ago or 65 years ago. Somebody is born maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago. That is not the definition, the true definition of born. This verse is the one verse which comes closest. So please pay attention for those who are interested in this topic, and I will try to cover it quickly. If you are interested, we can go into details. This question hints on the topic of the origin of the jiva. When did the jiva come into this material world from the spiritual world? The jiva is eternal. Okay, we learned that in chapter 2. The soul is eternal. The body is what takes birth and dies. The whole material world takes birth and dies. We studied all that. And we will continue to study it in future in Bhagavad Gita as well. So what was the first time that the jiva took birth in the material world? That would be the absolute or the true origin or the true birth of the jiva in the material world, not in your present body of man or woman or this Prabhu or that Prabhu. But when did you first enter into the material world? Now that is a very, 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 how many times should I write? Complex topic. When is this origin of the jiva? When did the jiva come into the material world? But the hint that is given here in this verse is, it comes closest, the Bhagavad Gita comes closest to this topic in this verse. Nowhere else, or very few other places. One place again in 15th chapter, Lord Krishna hints about it, that the jiva is eternally situated in the spiritual world. But sometimes, for a split second, it may get a thought, just a thought, and the thought goes away immediately as well. Because in the spiritual world, everybody is pure. That Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. Is it at all even possible for somebody else, like me maybe, or maybe somebody else, but it would be, maybe me. Is it at all possible for me to be the supreme enjoyer? Maybe just the thought even comes and it goes away. But in that thought coming and going away, one experiences, or one falls down into the material world, and that expands into millions and millions and millions of lifetimes. That's potential thought in the spiritual world. That is one explanation. There are multiple explanations. From the spiritual world, nobody ever falls. Nobody leaves the spiritual world, comes here, because it is said that from the spiritual world, one who goes to the spiritual world never comes back. Where is it said? It is said in many places. For example, in the 8th chapter, it is said most prominently. I will show. Chapter 8, verse 15, where Lord Krishna talks about the material world. I'll just read the English, or maybe we can read the Sanskrit as well. Mam upetya punarjanma dukkhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmanah samsiddhim paramam gataha. So na apnuvanti, that one never comes back. Mahatmanah samsiddhim paramam gataha. Once one gets that paramam gataha, the supreme destination, which is the spiritual world, na apnuvanti, he never comes back. The translation is, after attaining me, the great souls who are the yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Another verse, that the next verse says that from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So once one goes to the spiritual world, one never comes back. So there are many other verses in Bhagavad Gita like this, but this verse gives the conception that why does the jiva come to the material world to begin with? And this is a fairly complex topic, and many acharyas, many gurujanas, many senior devotees have commented on it, and it's a mind-boggling topic. If you want, we can talk more about it. If you want, there is also a discussion that we can have for 30-40 minutes on the concept of time. What is time? Because think about it, and I'm going into a little bit technical here, and I'll come back soon, I promise. This question of when did the jiva come to the material world? And then it goes back. Then the question is, in the first place, why did it fall down? So it is like a timeline. Like in a graph, you have some time. When you draw some graph, you draw it against, on the x-axis, you have time. On the y-axis, you have whatever. But the point is, at some time t1, the jiva came to material world. And at some time t2, he went back to spiritual world. Okay, like this. Then the question is, whether he will come back again. Bhagavad Gita says no. Once who goes to the spiritual world, he never comes back. But the question, as you can see here, T3, there is all of this time concept. This embedded in this question is the concept of time. And the question here could be, at some time T0, did the jiva go to the spiritual world? Okay. So what is going on here? Now, one thing that is mentioned by Lord Krishna is that time is a material energy of Krishna. Material energy of Krishna. Which means time only exists in the material world. Time does not exist. Time as we know it does not exist in the spiritual world. What do I mean by time? So that again takes us back to the question, what is time? Time is a material energy of Lord Krishna, but really what is time? I will just explain a little bit and I will stop. Time is an energy of Krishna, that is one thing, but there are other energies of Krishna. Okay, let us say energy of heat. Heat is energy. Let us say light is an energy. Okay, can you control these energies? Yes, you can control heat, light, whatever, and you can create steam engines from light. You can, you have so many things. You can control light. But can you control time? Time is also an energy of Krishna. Can we control time? You can reduce the heat. You can reduce the light. Correct? Here, I will reduce the light. Right? Now I'll increase the light. Okay? Using the temperature control on the AC or heater, I can increase the temperature. I can decrease the temperature. I can do all those things. So I can control some of the energies. Can I control time? Can I go forward in time? Or can I go back in time?
No.
Let
We
us
are
say,
at this moment.
yes. Ask somebody who entered a deadly accident how much he wants and lost somebody because of his mistake. Can you imagine his situation? How much he would want to go back in that split second and change his decision. Maybe he did not see the red light or did not put the brake at the right time. Or instead of looking this side, he was looking that side. Or he was looking on the phone instead of looking ahead. How much he would want to go back in time and change that decision. Please think about it. But it is not possible. So we cannot control time. We are controlled by time. We are in control of time. Okay? It is the sort of the same difference like watching a live telecast on TV versus watching a replay. In replay, you can go back and forward. If Sachin Tendulkar hit a sixer, You can go back as many times as you want and watch how nicely he hit sixer. But when you are in the stadium and he hit a six, that's the only shot, one shot you have to watch him. You cannot go back in time and say, Mr. Time, can you show me again? No, it is not possible. So time is an energy of Krishna. And we cannot control time. So we must understand that in this question, this whole concept of time is embedded. And this time that we are talking about does not exist in the spiritual world. It does not exist in the spiritual world, which means, now I cannot explain that completely clearly in a short amount of time. We might then end up talking just about this topic for the whole class. And then again, next week, we'll do chapter 7. I don't want to do that. So the point is, I will say this, it is a little bit wrong, but I will just say it for simplicity, and we can have detailed discussions later. Time in the spiritual world exists, but it is more like you can control it. So when Krishna is having his Leela in the spiritual world with Mother Yashoda, with Nanda Baba, that also has time. In the morning, he goes in the spiritual world with the cows. In the evening, he comes back home. Mother Yashoda has very nice feast ready for him in the evening. So there is time, there is morning, there is evening, even in the spiritual world. But the point is that in the spiritual world, time is in the control of the living entities in the spiritual world. So kind of you can think of it like living entities in the spiritual world can control time. In the material world, time controls us. Kala Shakti controls us. So I will leave it at that. It's much more complex discussion, and we can have the discussion later. I will also, I'll give a little bit more of a teaser. So this is a teaser, and we can have more discussions later. So this is Earth planet, okay? And then we have Swarga, and then we have Brahmaloka, Swargaloka, Brahmaloka. Okay, the highest planet in the material world is Brahmaloka, where Lord Brahma sits. The passage of time, now this is a very, very modern concept from the theory of general relativity, which was invented just 100 years ago, 1915, by Mr. Albert Einstein, right? That time, or human beings discovered in 1915, thanks to Albert Einstein, time passes at different rates. It is possible. If you said this sentence 150 years or 200 years ago, you would be called a fool. But after the discovery by Mr. Einstein, we all agree time passes at different rates at different places in the universe. And especially time passes more slowly near a very, very massive body. When you are near a very massive object, time passes slower. So 1 second near a massive object could be 10 seconds near a less massive object. A very beautiful example of this is given in Canto 9. In the later chapters of Canto 9 of King Kakudmi and his daughter Revati. I will not go into that, but there the story is where King Kakudmi goes to meet Lord Brahma, and there he is waiting for 20 minutes. And here on earth, ages, millions of years pass. So time was passing much slower. His experience of time when he was with Lord Brahma was just a few minutes. But in that much time on earth, time completely passed. So time passes much faster on earth than in Brahmaloka. So if I draw a pyramid like this is, let's say, how the time passes. In Swargaloka, time passes little bit more slowly, and in Brahmaloka, it passes the slowest. Okay. Now, this, as you can see, we are ascending in the sort of the material realm. We have the earth planet, we have Swargaloka, then we have Brahmaloka at the top of the material world, as described in the Shastras, as described in the Bhagavatam. Some of the devotees who have invested a lot of their energy and time in science say that at this, so Brahmaloka is not technically there because it's not zero. Brahmaloka, let's say, somewhere here, where time is passing. Even Lord Brahma is under the control of time. Okay. But then when you go further above, what is above the material world? It is the spiritual world. So when you enter the spiritual world, this pyramid not only intersects, it may invert. What does that mean? We don't know. Okay, so time not only begins to pass slowly at this point, it comes to a complete halt. And then what happens here? Does it flow in the reverse direction? What happens? We don't know. I cannot explain. These are theories that devotees are going deep into Puranas and Shastras and trying to make some sense. And material science or modern science is very far away from all of this. Modern science is just here on earth and saying, okay, near the sun, the time is passing a little bit slower because sun is the most massive object that we can do some experiments within our reach. And then there are galaxies and clusters and all that, which we have no access to. Anyway, so this is a teaser on the topic of time and time in the spiritual world. So it is not like one falls down from spiritual world and spends millions of years here and millions of years have passed in the spiritual world. That is not the case. Even a moment may not pass in the spiritual world, and we experience millions and millions of lifetimes here in the material world. That is the point I wanted to emphasize. Okay, that our absence from the spiritual world may be tiny, less than a moment, fraction of a nanosecond, so to say, whatever a nanosecond in the spiritual world may mean. I'm just using loose terms. But in our experience here on the material world, it could be millions and millions and millions of lifetimes because of this sort of a pyramid structure of time. Hopefully, those who were paying attention got some of it. Of course, it was a very, very vague explanation, very hand-wavy, very, very imperfect explanation, but you got some sense. Anyway, the purpose of this explanation is not to become a scientist or to solve the next great theory and get Nobel Prize. The purpose of all this explanation is to appreciate the humongous nature of the material world, of Shastra, of the material world, of the opulence or the power of God, and to, after realizing that, to love God, to surrender to God. That is the purpose of this, not to figure it out, not to find the next equation and say, oh, if I read Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam clearly and if I can decode this verse, I can get Nobel Prize. Then it is like sense gratification. And then what will happen? Krishna will cover himself. As he says in 7.25, what does he say? Na aham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha. Then Krishna will immediately cover himself up. He won't reveal himself. So don't try to use Krishna for sense gratification. Okay, just appreciate Krishna, how lovely he is, how wonderful he is, how great he is. And there's all these concepts which I cannot understand. So let me surrender to him. With my tiny intelligence, I cannot understand. Just like a small child, if he is the son of a big billionaire, He may not understand how his father became billionaire and how much technology he invented and this and that and this, spaceship and this and that, all that he invented, because of which he became the richest man on the planet. But the small child will think, oh, my father is the richest man. He has done all these great things which I don't understand, but I love my father so much. That is the purpose. We are so tiny, we cannot figure out how God thinks, how God works. But our job is to appreciate that and love him and surrender to him. So that is the purpose of all this discussion. So I will leave it at that as to how or when the jiva and why the jiva comes to the material world. All right. Okay. So very heavy sort of, I don't know if I intended to go into all this depth, but whatever it is, we did go into it. It was a heavy discussion, so to say. Any questions at this point on this topic? Mala has hand raised. Mala Mataji, do you want to ask your question? Okay, no question. That's okay. I will lower the hand. 1 second. Then there is a question on the chat from Neeru Mataji to me. Resentment of Krishna's position, examples of thoughts that represent this. Very, very nice question. Well, if one is a huge demon, I said we are little Hiranyakashipus, correct? If you are real Hiranyakashipu, then you can directly resent Krishna or Vishnu. What did Hiranyakashipu say? I will cut Vishnu's head and drink his blood. This is what Hiranyakashipu said. So his real intention was to cut the head of Vishnu, direct resentment, direct anger towards Lord Vishnu. Okay. However, what we do is we show our resentment towards others to whom Krishna has given his or their quota. Krishna has allotted the quota to everyone. And we resent, why does he have more than me? Let me go grab it. So resentment of others who are living a peaceful life given the facilities by Lord Shri Krishna. There is those who are doing the Bhakti Shastri, and I invite many of you to do that. I can give you details of that later. We read this other book called Shri Isopnisad. It is a very, one of the 8 most prominent Upanishads. Among the 108 Upanishads, there are some of them which are very important. Ishopanishad, Kenopanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Kathopanishad, like that. So Ishopanishad is one of the very important Upanishads. And mantra, the first mantra says, Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita Ma Gridha Kasya Svid Dhanam. That everything is, first of all, Isha Vashyam. Everything is Krishna's property. He is the ultimate controller, Isha Vashyam. So everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by Isha. Isha means Ishvara, by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota. So everybody has been given their little facilities. And one should not accept things, not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Everything else belongs to the Lord. And he may have given that to other people. So at our level, the hatred is, oh, why didn't the Lord give me more? Let me go get it myself. Okay. Why did the Lord give him more? He's more enjoying than me. Let me try to become him. Then you try to become him. Then you try to become the next him. There will always be somebody superior to you that you want to become. And once you have conquered everybody, including Lord Brahma and Indra, like Hiranyakashipu, then there is nobody left to dominate. Then the final domination becomes Vishnu. Let me dominate him. Today, we are not at that level, but we see around ourselves so many people whom we want to conquer. And that internally is our dvesha, resentment. Why do I not have that? Why he has it? All right. So that is the answer. So please, once you read this Isopnisad next few verses in detail, you will see that it says that the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. The killer of the soul, Atmaha, it is called. Atmaha, you will see in the Sanskrit. Atma ha no janaha. Atmahano, killer of the soul, means one who has misused his purpose of life. Misused his purpose of life to just pursue all these material sense gratification. I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that. He is called a Atmahana, or a killer of the soul. What happens to him? He goes into the darkest planets of the creation, goes into places like hell and narka. So that is, read this and you will get detailed understanding. And in Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter also has very detailed understanding. We will come to 16th chapter in few months and then we can discuss. Okay, so that answers that question. Our example of resentment to Krishna. Does that answer the question, Neeru Mataji? Hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Subhash Prabhuji is asking, time is energy of Krishna. Please clarify. Okay, so I think with the given explanation that we had, it should be clear that time is energy of Krishna, which means Lord Krishna can completely control time. That means it is his energy. To some extent, you can see we can control, like I gave the example, heat and light. To some extent, we can control or modulate Krishna's energies. We cannot fully control. Like, for example, we cannot generate heat. Now, you can say we can generate heat by burning coal. I will ask you, where did coal come from? You will say it came from coal mine. Then I will say, where did coal mine come from? You will say it came from earth. Then I will ask, where did earth come from? Ultimately, it will go back to, where did the universe come from? Where did universe come from? From Lord Krishna. Okay.
Got it. Got
so
it. Thank you.
We cannot, we are not the controllers of Krishna's energy. Who is the controller of Krishna's energies? Krishna. He can create the universes and he can create all the energies. Okay, next question is, what is the procedure to enjoy with Krishna? Please give one example. Very beautiful question. Question is, how to enjoy with Krishna? Very beautiful question. By being Krishna's servant. Loving servant, or you can say loving son, or whoever, some loving entity. Now, I will give a small example that whenever the king goes to a different country, he gets beautiful reception, isn't it? And even the king's driver gets beautiful reception. Arey, please come, you are the driver of the king. Please come, have a seat. Not along with the king, but next to the king. His family members are respected so much. Oh, you are the king's son. You are the king's driver. You are the king's cook, or you are this or that or that. When king goes, he goes with his whole group. Everybody in the group gets so much respect and love by the other party. Isn't it? So do you get a sense of being a person who is very close to Krishna gets to enjoy everything that Krishna enjoys. Krishna is the Supreme Lord. For those who are near and dear to him, he makes sure that they get full enjoyment. Another example is that take the person, very rich person. Let's say he has a dog whom he loves very much. Now, in America, you can see this very much, by the way, where everybody almost has pets and they love their pets so much. So much they love their pets. So they will never go anywhere without their pet. Okay? And who is driving the car? The person is driving the car. And where is the pet sitting? Pet is sitting on the back seat like a sahab. Isn't it? So he is enjoying more than the owner, because the owner loves the pet so much, he takes him everywhere. Even if he eats some ice cream, he will give one ice cream to the pet. Isn't it? So he's enjoying. And what is the pet doing to the master? All he's doing is loving him. Whenever he comes back from office, he jumps on him, he licks him, he just expresses his love. And that is what the master likes so much, that love. Master is hungry for love. And if the pet loves the master truly, the master will do anything to make sure the pet is happy. Do you get a sense? So our job is to become Krishna's pet. And then you will see the amount of happiness we will get is incomparable. Can a dog ever get ice cream on his own? How much ever he tries? Can he sit in the back seat of a Mercedes and have a human being drive him around? Is it possible? By his own efforts? Tell me. No, it is not possible. How is it possible? If he loves the master truly from his heart, then he can enjoy. So hopefully you get some sense how to enjoy with Krishna. Who asked that question?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Hopefully it was a sensible answer, made sense. Okay, let's make quicker progress now. We have 1 hour and we have few verses left. So 7.28. So we spent almost 1 hour on 7.27. So 7.28. Now, before people start dropping off, couple of quick announcements. In United States, the time is changing next week or this Sunday. Okay, so for those in India, your class will be, so we will still have it at 6:30 p.m. US time, Pacific time. In India, it will be 8 a.m. Right now, it is 7 a.m. in India.
No, Prabhuji, it will be opposite. It will be 7 a.m.
9
Now
a.m.
it is.
Currently, it is 8 a.m.
Now it will become 7, Prabhuji.
So currently, it is 8 a.m.
Okay, we'll go with Abhimanyu Prabhu's version. Okay, so 7 a.m. Okay, fine. So is that right, Abhimanyu Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, it will be 12 and a half hours. Yeah.
Okay, so you have to wake up 1 hour early. Okay, to hear and read Bhagavad Gita, it's okay. You can wake up 1 hour early. So basically, for next few months, people in India need to wake up 1 hour early. Okay, the class time will be 1 hour early. All right. What was the other announcement?
Whoever joins the Bhagavatam class, same thing will happen to them as
Yeah,
well.
whoever is
So,
joining
common
Bhagavatam class, not tomorrow, next weekend onwards. Tomorrow it will be same. Next weekend onwards, it will be 1 hour early. All right. For those in India or wherever time zone change, this daylight time change doesn't happen. Okay. And there was another announcement which I have now forgotten. Okay, no problem. Whenever I remember, I will tell. Okay, 7.28. So 7.27, we discussed the general reason why people do not surrender to Krishna? Because of ichha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena bharata. Please remember that line. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena bharata. Because of that, people do not surrender to Krishna. So, how to surrender to Krishna? For such people, how to surrender to Krishna? There is a desire. Sometimes some desire is there, but it goes away because we have so much programming of ichha dvesha. It's very hard to give it up, that ichha dvesha. Sometimes we think, no, we must surrender to Krishna. We must, this Prabhuji is saying so much. Bhagavad Gita, it is written, Krishna is saying so much. And so many acharyas have said, let us try. But again, it's like a New Year resolution. It doesn't happen. So how we can surrender to Krishna? So the answer is given in 7.28, how to surrender to Krishna. So the answer is, first, come to mode of goodness. Now this is not mandatory. I will give a disclaimer. This is not mandatory, but highly recommended. First come to mode of goodness, then with strong determination. There is no shortcut, there is no magic answer. Determination. Do bhajan of Krishna. And bhajan does not just mean bhajans, does not mean Anup Jalota bhajan. It means Shravan and Kirtana. Both. Shravan of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, and Kirtana also of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and the holy name. And we are going through this very detailed discussion of the holy name in the last several weeks in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So if you are interested, you can join there. Tomorrow will be the last, hopefully, or probably the last discussion. So we are coming to close on that whole discussion of the Shravan and Kirtan, the power of Shravan and Kirtan of the name, Nama, name of God, Hari Nam Sankirtana. So the solution is first come to mode of goodness. That is point number 1. And point number 2, with strong determination, do bhajan of Krishna. That is the step. So let us see the Sanskrit verse that makes it or reveals this to us. Yesham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha vinirmukta bhajante mam dridha vratah. What does it mean? Yesham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. So yesham, for those people, antagatam papam, the papa, the sinful baggage, the sinful karma, the sinful reactions, the baggage that one is carrying on the back, once that has been antagatam, once that has been finished, antagatam, it has been anta, done with, finished, antagatam papam, jananam, of the people, by punya karmanam, by doing pious activities. So we have studied in the Bhagavatam class, pious activities, the certain pious activities remove the sinful reactions. Okay, but it's not a very powerful way. It's not a highly recommended way, but it helps you to come to the mode of goodness. So first come to the mode of goodness by being a good person. The byproduct is that it will remove your sinful reactions as well. But become a good person first. A simple person, simple-hearted person, a truthful person, a compassionate, kind, loving person. You cannot love God if you cannot love other people. So if you want to learn to love God, love other people as well. Become a good person. And then what happens? So the process is become a good person. The byproduct is eradication of sinful reactions. We are in 7.28, by the way. Okay, so become a good person by doing punya karmanam. What happens? Te dvanda moha nirmukta. You become free. Then you become free from dvanda moha, the illusion of duality. And then, and I have left a gap here. I will explain why. You do bhajan of Mam. Bhajante Mam. Mam means bhajan of Krishna with strong determination. Dridha vrataha, very important word. Dridha. Dridha vrata. Dridha means strong. Vrat means determination. Strong determination. So do bhajan, or we can say bhakti. Bhakti of Krishna. All right? That is the way. Because if you have malice in your heart, if you have duplicity, you have the feeling of resentment towards others and anger and all the bad qualities, it is very, very difficult to go down this path. You will never be free from illusion of duality. Always you will see he is good, he is bad. I like him, I don't like him. He is a friend, he is an enemy. I won, I lost. I like this, I don't like this. Always will be in that. Okay. Now, what is there in the middle? This is what acharyas have said. Great acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, Baladev Vidyabhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is that when one becomes free from illusion and duality, then one associates with devotees. Association of devotees is very, very important. And that leads to bhakti and bhajan. Okay. So this is the process, becoming a good person. And many a times, simply association of devotees makes us a good person. Because devotees are already by definition good people. So if you associate with a drunkard, you will become a drunkard. If you associate with the devotees, you will become a devotee. So it has that effect. And then you can do Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Bhajan.
This is like you become the company you keep.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. Okay, you take, Srila Prabhupada describes this and the Shastras describe this. You take a hot iron rod and you touch it with another iron rod. That other rod will also become hot.
Yes.
That is association. So this verse is talking about that the mode of goodness oops, what happened? Is the best platform for bhakti. Best platform for bhakti. I think I have given this example before in this class, in this series. Maybe I gave it in some other series, but I will quickly repeat. If you want to catch a flight, what is the best place to catch a flight? Tell me, someone.
Airport.
Airport, exactly. So if you have to catch a flight, which is like bhakti, going to the spiritual world, this is the flight to spiritual world. Please go to the airport first. Without going to airport, how will you catch the flight? You may have all the desire to catch the flight, but first is to get to the airport. Now, in very rare cases, it may be possible that you may be airlifted from your home. In America, I have seen sometimes people call 911, say, I'm having a heart attack. Helicopter comes right near your house. And if there is no landing pad, those people will come down on ropes and take you up and take you to the hospital. But very rare cases it happens. Like in the case of Valmiki Rishi. He was a hunter, but by the association of pure devotees like Narad Muni, immediately he became a saint. But it doesn't happen very often. The more natural way to become a spiritual entity is to come to the mode of goodness. Become a good person. And then it's very easy. The heart becomes soft. Srila Prabhupada calls this as dry wood versus wet wood. Which wood is more easy to light up? Which wood will light up and throw flames, ignite more easily? Which one? The dry wood. So if you have wet wood in your hands, what should you do?
Try it first.
Dry it first. So if you have malice in your heart, if you have blackness in your heart, first remove the blackness. Then you will see how quickly bhakti lights up in your heart. Very easy to light bhakti in your heart if the heart is pure and simple and kind. So that is the meaning of this verse. Yesham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. Come to the mode of goodness by eradicating the sins, by doing good punya actions. That doesn't lead to bhakti directly, but what it does is that it opens your heart. Te dvanda moha nirmukta. You lose the sense of duality. You associate with devotees, as acharyas have added. And then what happens? Bhajante mam dridhavata. But here there is some element of your own dridhavrata. So you have to put in effort for bhajan bhakti. With strong determination, you have to put effort in bhakti. Now, 7.29. So let me see what else I have in this verse. Kindly mute yourself, somebody. Okay, I have muted. Okay, thank you. So this verse, 7. Sorry, what happened? What's going on? Seven 7.28. This is very, very important. Please pay very close attention. 7.28 is called the S cubed verse. S cubed. And I have taken this from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's explanations. Very wonderful devotee. It is about becoming a serious sincere and steady devotee. Triple S or S cubed. Dridhavrata. So please make a determination to become a sincere, serious, and a steady devotee. Bhajante mam dridhavrata. Take this up in your life. There is nothing more important than this. Like we have sincere, serious, and steady, health. I want to improve my health, or I want to do my job, very sincere in the job. Instead of 8 to 5, you do 8 to 8, 12 hours instead of 8 hours. Similarly, for devotion, for bhakti, becoming a sincere, serious, and a steady devotee. Okay, next verse. 7.29. So this verse is talking, so the previous verse was talking about how one should come to the mode of goodness and then do Krishna bhakti with determination, with one's own determination. How one should do Krishna bhakti. This 7.29 is going to the next level, which is it's going from determined bhakti to a bhakta who wants liberation. So it's called as a moksha kami bhakti. One who, kami means desire, bhakti of Krishna with the desire of moksha, to get liberated from this world, this samsara of birth and death. And such a person is very, very enlightened. So that is what is being talked here. So the verse goes like this: Jara marana mokshaya. So again, jara marana. Jara means old age. Marana means death. Mokshaya, liberation. So getting liberation from old age and death. Jara marana mokshaya. Mam ashritya yatanti ye. Te brahma tad viduh kritsnam adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. So jara marana mokshaya. One who wants liberation from old age and death. Mam ashritya yatantite. He takes shelter of mam, my shelter, mam ashritya. Yatantite, with endeavor. So there is still endeavor involved. Yatantite. Te brahma tad viduh kritsnam. They know everything. They are Brahman. Te Brahma. They know everything about Brahman, and they are like Brahman. They are spiritual. So they give up their bodies. They become spiritual entities, and they know everything about Adhyatmam and karma, about the true spiritual nature. And karma is material. How they know the knowledge of the spiritual entity, and how the spiritual entity gets entangled in karma and takes various bodies. So they get all this knowledge fully. Cha akhilam. Okay. So the translation is: intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. So these type of people also surrender to Krishna. So in the previous verse, we saw the people who surrender to Krishna are those who want to give up their bad activities, their sinful reactions. So through Punya karma, becoming a good person, they are bad people today, or some badness is there, some malice is there. They want to become good, and then they do bhajan. After becoming good people, they do bhajan of Krishna, bhakti of Krishna with determination. That is one category. Okay, so these last 3 verses, remember what we are talking about? The way to surrender to Krishna. In 27th verse, we talked about the general reason why people don't. Now, how to surrender to Krishna? 28th verse, we talked about from malice, come to goodness, and then do Krishna bhakti. 29th verse is talking about getting liberated. A devotee who is, or a person who is had so much enough of this life and death. I want to get out of this cycle of life and death. I don't want this cycle of life and death. Jara marana mokshaya. I want moksha from this horrible sansara. Always death, 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 death. Okay. Mam ashritya yatantire. Now, one thing I want to share with you today before we end. Please remind me, somebody, if I forget, or maybe I should write it down, but I have Apple Pencil. It doesn't write on paper. It only writes on iPad. So please remind me the question. I had a nice realization. I was listening to, I will tell you. Question is, why has Krishna designed it in a way that we don't remember our past lives? So many people have this desire, oh, how nice it would be if I remember past life. Why does Krishna make us forget past life? I have a very nice point to convey to all of you based on this question. Please remind me in the last few minutes, okay?
Prabhuji, you had given the 9/11 example and explained this before.
Yes, I have another nice explanation. One explanation is never enough in Bhagavad Gita. There are so many explanations. That's why so many acharyas write commentaries. If there is one explanation or only one way to kind of understand, there would be only one commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Same thing goes for physics. Why are there so many textbooks? Every school has a different textbook. So the various ways to explain are there. Understanding is the same. Physics is the same. Equations are the same. But different ways. Some people understand one way. Some people understand better given a different way to explain. Okay. So I got new, very nice way to explain this. And I want to share it with you. You may like it, or some of you may think, oh, it didn't make sense. Some of you may think, oh, that's useless, didn't appeal to me, whatever. Okay. Anyway, so coming back to 7.29. So what Lord Krishna is saying, that the people who are fed up with this life and death, life and death, life and death, they want moksha, they take shelter of Krishna. And on taking shelter of Krishna, these devotees, so on taking, I'll write down the steps. What does Krishna says? Mam ashritya yatantite. Plus their endeavor in bhakti, right? This is yatantite. And this part on taking shelter of Krishna is Mam Ashritya. Correct? For those who want this moksha, mera jara marana mokshaya, on taking this, what happens? They know. They come to know all about Brahman. Okay, this is the third line, 7.29c. Te Brahma tad viduh krishnam. They come to know all about Brahman. And they come to know all about the bodies that jiva takes due to its karma. This is the adhyatmam karma cha akhilam. And they know all this. Fully, cha akhilam. Completely they know all this. They get this full understanding. And by this enlightenment, they attain moksha. Okay, that is the this is the sort of the breakdown of this verse. This is the way to understand this verse. Okay, moksha from death or from material world, because in material world there is always death. Even Lord Brahma faces death. The creator, so to say, the engineer of the material world. So what to speak of everybody else? Hiranyakashipu wanted to become immortal. He said, that's one thing I cannot do. Okay, because everybody in material world has to die. So moksha from death means moksha from material world. Now, there is one more level. Such a devotee, this moksha kami bhakta or bhakti, it does not bind or control Krishna. Okay, you have done my bhakti, but with the intention of jara marana mokshaya. There was an intention there. So Bhagavan says, okay, you can get liberation, but you will not be able to control me. Who can control Krishna? Now you all have been hearing Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam from so many weeks. Tell me, who can control Krishna?
True devotees.
Pure devotee.
Only pure devotee can control Krishna. Right? So this is not the example of a pure devotee, because there is some kama, some desire, even for moksha. So there is another higher level of devotion, higher level of bhakti. Okay. And that is given in next verse. 7.30 is called kevala bhakta. Kevala bhakta or kevala bhakti. Kevala bhakti means bhakti for the sake of bhakti, for no reason. It is called as ahaituki. Ahaituki means no hetu, no in order to. Hetu means in order to. Okay, so there is no in order to. That is ahaituki, which means for no reason, just for love of Krishna. There is no material reason, there is no reason at all. And what do such devotees also? Do not have any ichha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena bharata. Pure devotees. So these are the pure devotees. Pure bhakta. So what is the given here? Sa Adhibhuta Adhdaiva mam sa Adhiyagyam chaye viduhu prayana kale api chamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. So what do the pure devotees think? Pure devotees think that everything, literally everything is Krishna. Everything is Krishna. They see Krishna everywhere. They cannot think anything else but Krishna. Their whole mind is occupied by Krishna. Think of the gopis, for example, the highest devotees. All they can think of is Krishna. Nothing else. Think of Srila Prabhupada. His whole mind was full of Krishna. Every time he was thinking, oh, In this country, I have to go share Krishna consciousness. I have to take this flight, go there. Oh, this devotee, what is he doing? He should, I have to make him. All the time he was scheming. He was a big schemer, so to say, in a good sense, to convert the whole world from Maya to Krishna. So his mind, if you were to open up his mind, you will see Krishna everywhere. So they see Krishna everywhere. They think of Krishna all the time. So that is what is written here, but in a theoretical way. You will see that emotion come out in chapter 9. Chapter 7 is theory. So in a theoretical way, Lord Krishna is saying is describing pure devotees. But devotion is all about love. Theory is not so beautiful, is not so sweet. When you will go to chapter 9, you will see the sweetness of Krishna, how sweetly he describes pure bhakti. So, but this verse 7.30 is describing that kevala bhakti. So, Sa Adhibhuta Adhdaiva mam. Those who think that I am Adhibhuta and Adhdaiva. Now, these terms, in the previous verse also, there were certain terms. What were the terms? Brahma, Adhyatma, and Karma. Arjun will ask the meaning of these terms in 8th chapter. That's how 8th chapter begins. So we will quickly go over some of these terms, but we have already gone. Brahma is Brahman, the knowledge of Brahman. Adhyatma is the jiva. Karma is the reactions that bind him to the material world. In this verse, there are another 3 terms: Adhibhuta, Adhdaiva, and Adhiyajna. So those who know that these 3 things are Krishna, Adhibhuta, Adhdaiva, and Adhiyajna. All these are equal to Krishna. What are these? Adhibhuta means the material nature, the entire material nature. Everything, all the matter you can see in the universe. So in one Adhibhuta, all the matter is Krishna. Adhdaiva means all the living entities, including demigods. The whole, what is known as the universal form. It's also known as the universal form. We will cover this in more detail in chapter number 11. The entire cosmic manifestation. And Adhiyajna means all the processes of sacrifice. How the living entities sacrifice to the higher living entities, the demigods, and everything, basically all the processes, all the sacrifices. So basically everything that one sees in the whole universe is Mam. So Sa Adhibhuta Adhdaivam Mam, one who considers me to be Adhibhuta Adhiv, Sa Adhiyajnam Cha, and the Adhiyajna. So all 3, 1, 2, 3 is Mam. Chaye Viduh, one who knows this. Vidu means to know. Ved means to know. Viduh. What happens? He always thinks of me. Always he thinks of me. That is the main thing. He or she, whatever. Always he thinks of me. Prayana kale api cha mam. Api. So it doesn't mean only at Prayana Kale. Api means even, which means what? Including all the other times, isn't it? Because at Prayana Kale, at the time of death, it is said a man is most confused because he's overwhelmed. The most dear thing of him, which is his body, is being taken away from him at Prayana Kale. None of us have experience of that, right? Anybody has experienced death? Then you wouldn't be on the Zoom call, right? But you have experienced something very dear being taken away from you. Something, hopefully none of you have experienced anything like that. But unfortunately, some people have experienced. And the mind doesn't work at that time. Does it work straightforwardly? Can you think straight in such moments? Yes or no? No.
No, we become zero.
Yes. Completely like panic. Kya kare? Oh my. The mind doesn't work. It goes blank. I shared this so many times. Once when my children were small, one time in a big mela, in a fair, I lost them. One of them. I thought he is coming behind me. When I looked, he's not there. And I was like, first I thought he will be a little bit here, there. After 10-15 seconds, I realized he's nowhere near me. Then panic set in. I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know what number to dial on the phone. Oh, somebody told me dial 911. I dialed, okay, 911. Even to dial the 3 digits on the phone was hard. So when the most dear thing to us, what is most dear? Our body. When that is being taken away, one is completely confused. A pure devotee who always thinks of me, Lord Krishna is saying, even prayana kale cha api mam, even at that time he can think of me. That is the beauty of pure devotee. All right.
Why that happens?
Why that happens? Because of pure devotion, pure bhakti.
Your consciousness becomes clear.
Consciousness becomes clear because, and next time I will share this story because that is the whole topic of chapter 8. How to die. Chapter 8 is all about death. How to die, what happens at death, what happens after death, and what is the best way to die. So if anybody wants to know that, because that is the final future that we all share, isn't it?
Death made easy.
Death made easy. That can be the alternate name of chapter 8. Okay. So prayana kale cha apimam te vidur yukta chetasaha. That last word is very important, yukta chetasaha, because his mind has always been engaged. Yukta, engaged. Chetasaha means mind. In whom it has been engaged? Mam. Second time the word mam is coming in this verse. Prayana kale cha api mam. He can remember me even at the time of death because his whole life he has spent thinking about me. That is a pure devotee or Shuddha Bhakta. Shuddha Bhakta. Okay. And I will share this story again of Citizen Kane. Those of you who might remember may recall. Whatever at the time of death is most dear to you, that is somehow you remember. Not how to dial 911, but maybe the thought of your most loved one or loved thing, whatever you have spent your life meditating on, that is usually the last thought. And if your life you have spent meditating on Krishna, then your last thought will be Krishna. And for pure devotee who has spent his life in this way, sa Adhibhuta Adhdaiva mam, sa Adhiyajna cha ye viduhu, for him what happens? Prayana kale picha samam, prayana kale apicha mam, te vidur yukta chetasa. Because he has spent his entire life in yukta chetasa, mam, engaged his mind in me, even at the time of death, he remembers me. That is the state, that is the situation of a pure devotee, and such a person has no problem. He does not have any ichha dvesha samuthena dvanda mohena bharata, none of that. Okay. Okay. So that is the conclusion of chapter 7.
Why do we forget the past life? Why can't we remember?
Okay, I will come to that. We still have 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Summary of, so please remind me a little bit later again. Thank you. Thank you for reminding. Summary of chapter 7. Not summary, I will say essence. ESSENCE, essence. Okay, essence of chapter 7. The essence of chapter 7 is Krishna is everything. Remember, chapter 7, in the beginning, Lord Krishna says what? Bhumi rapo anilo vayu kham mano buddhir evacha ahankara itiyam me ashta prakritir bhinna prakritir ashtadha, that these are my 8 material energies. These are then there is the living entity, and I am the sustainer of the whole world. Sutre manigana iva. Remember that, like I'm a thread in the necklace, keeping the whole manifestation together. I am everything. I am the taste of water. I am the heat of the sun. I am the intelligence of the intelligent. Buddhim buddhimatam asmi. I am the buddhi of the buddhimatam. And tejas tejasvinam aham. I am the tej, the brilliance or the strength of the strong. Balam balavatam cha aham. So all that. So Krishna is everything. Okay. And the next point is material world is very strong. Maya metam or mama maya duratyaya. There are too many attachments, material world and our attachments. Are very, very strong. Okay. So therefore, the only way out is what? Surrender to Krishna. Mam eva ye prapadyante. Or bahunam janmanamante jnanvan mam prapadyate. And to realize that Vasudeva sarvamiti. That is no different than saying Krishna is everything. Vasudeva sarvamiti. Exactly the translation is Krishna is everything. So the only way out is to surrender to Krishna. So we must not, do not defy Krishna. Do not ignore Krishna by doing some other things like being busy with life. The 4 types of people who do not surrender to Krishna: Moodha, Naradhama, Mayaya, Aprihita Jnana, and Asura. Don't be one of those 4 categories. Don't go towards demigods. Don't become impersonalist. Become a devotee. Bhakta. That is the essence of chapter 7. All right. At an essence level, this is the essence. Okay. Now questions. Let us see. So first I will answer that question. But
You said you will share a story.
sorry?
You told us to remind at the last
Yes,
your
yes.
experience.
Yes. I will share that.
Okay.
So let me explain, or let me share that little story, small one. I was listening to this a historian that I appreciate and respect very much, very much. There is a lot to learn from history, a lot. Okay. Like we say, the Puranas also contain a lot of history because there is a lot to learn. Why is the chapter of Hiranyakashipu there? Of course, to show us the example of Prahlad, but also to show us how not to be, who not to be. Don't be like Hiranyakashipu. So negative examples are also there, right? So in history, in modern history, mainly negative examples are there. Positive examples are not much appreciated. There are positive examples. Mahatma Gandhi is there, Martin Luther King is there, Saint Francis of Assisi, and
Mother Teresa.
Yes, so many good examples are there, but they occupy one paragraph in the history book. Okay, volumes and volumes are written on Hitler and all the other asuras, so to say. Anyway, so this historian's name is Yuval Noah Harari. He's an Israeli, but a very, very good historian. He has written a nice trilogy of books, among other books. The first book is called Sapiens. Very nice reading. I enjoyed reading it. Sometime I will read it again. And other two books are also there. 1, 2, 3. The second one is called Homo Deus or something like that. And the third one is called 21 Lessons from 21st Century. Anyway, all three are very nice to read. There was an interview I was hearing recently on BBC News or something like that. No, it was a TED talk. Yeah, it was a TED interview on this whole Ukraine crisis. And he was saying that why the fundamental reason why this is there, this crisis or this hatred in the heart of Putin, Vladimir Putin, because he remembers one time, at least that's what he says. Internally, it may be about sense gratification and power. I want to become the biggest, emperor, whatever it may be. But at least externally, he says, oh, Ukraine was part of Russia. And then it has taken away. I want it to again become part of Russia. That and all that bad memories of the past are there. How, he says the West manipulated the demise of the Soviet Union, caused the Soviet Union to get disintegrated. And then he remembers how the Nazis had killed so many millions and millions of Russians in the World War II. And all these memories are there. And he says that what is happening now, because of this war, he is sowing the seeds of hatred in the heart of the Ukrainians. 30, 40, 50 years later, some Ukrainian will rise up and become powerful and will wage a war against Russia, saying that, oh, these people killed my father, bombed the hospital in which, my wife was there, or this or that. And that hatred develops. And then they will try to get back at the Russians. Hitler also, when he did that, he had his own reasons, how the Jews had dominated over the Germans, and the Germans became so poor and lost World War I. So he wanted to revolt against that and, created a Germany and then wanted to create the German Empire and so on. So the point is, the seeds of hatred go back. Very far back, they keep going, the seeds, and more the memories of hatred. Memories of hatred keep going, keep getting, transferred from the Russians to the Ukrainians. Then after 50 years, the Ukraine will attack Russia. And then Russians will have the hatred, and then they will attack Ukraine. And this cycle will continue to go on. How do we break this cycle? He was talking about this, that somebody need to break the cycle. Of course, he was not talking about anything spiritual or God, but he was saying somebody somewhere you have to forgive. You have to say, yes, you may have done this to us 20, 30, 40 years ago. I am not going to do that to you. Somewhere you have to tolerate and bring an end to this. And that is why Krishna makes us forget. Now, this was my realization. He didn't say that. I realized, yes, that is a very important reason, because we all have faced death in our past lives. We all have, and we remember the hatreds. Like I was saying, we don't remember the good things. When somebody does bad thing, that we remember. So if Krishna doesn't give us a clean slate in this life to start from, then all the time we will be more interested in getting revenge on the previous party than to do Krishna Bhakti. The purpose of human life is to come closer to Krishna. But if we have so much resentment from the past in our life, then we would be, due to our conditioning, we would be so much more inclined to take revenge, to express our resentment, than to fulfill the purpose of human life. And therefore, it is a good thing, I realized, that we don't remember our past lives. So that's the point I wanted to make. Okay, let us see what questions we have for today. We have 5-6 minutes, and okay, 7.28. I will paste this here so everybody can see what is written. Punya is translated as pious in this verse. Is Punya the same as what we consider good activities, such as being kind, helping the needy, or is it doing spiritual acts? No, it is good activities. It's this one. Okay. So that answers that question. Punya karma. Cleaning the heart, it means. In this verse, it means that. But by doing spiritual acts, for example, Hari, Nama, Kirtana, by doing that, also the sinful reactions are eradicated. And goodness arises in our heart. By doing Harinam Kirtana, especially offenseless. We've spent last few weeks in the Bhagavatam class going about discussing what are the offenses in Harinam Kirtana. So especially with offenseless, very quickly, goodness arises in our heart. That is the verse we recite in the beginning of every Bhagavatam class. Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. What does it mean? Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu. Abhadreshu means all that is inauspicious in the heart is nashta, is destroyed. So goodness arises in our heart and blackness is destroyed. Blackness, or you can say ignorance or whatever. Abhadreshu, inauspiciousness is destroyed. Okay. But yes, that's what the answer to this question is. Okay, next question I will paste here. Okay, what this says: Does bhakti help to eradicate illusion of duality? Yes. Okay. I already answered this question just now. Yes, it does. Okay. Does bhakti? Yes. I see an elderly person very much in bhakti, but still have very strong tera mera behavior. Yes, it can happen. Sometimes it takes very long time. Very long time sometimes. And this we will cover tomorrow. So who is asking this question? Niru Mataji, please try to come to Bhagavatam class tomorrow. We will cover this topic, this time, very long time. It means that there is Nam Aparadha Bhakti going on. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clearly says, when you are doing bhakti or the Nam, Hari Nam Kirtana with aparadha, then the result of that bhakti happens after a very, very, very long time. It still happens. The result happens. Medicine will cure, but it takes long time to cure. Kindly mute. Okay. Okay. Next question. So please, whoever, now you cannot tell others. I will mute. You cannot tell others what to do, but you do bhakti in not in an offensive way. You do it in a pure way. Okay. We should not judge others either. Okay. Next question. What is this? Regarding the quota given to a person by Lord Krishna to enjoy, is it given only as a materialism or as a spiritualism too? Very nice question. So it is mainly for the dharma, for the cycle of dharma, artha, kama. We have discussed this cycle. So one is given the quota, the resources, so that he can legally, dharma means legally, so to say, legally as per the Dharma Shastra, not as per the United States or, India or whatever law, but as per Manusmriti, the law of human beings, the law of humankind. So when you do your duty, you get your benefits and you enjoy, and then you go back. And in this cycle, in this way, you can keep going for a very long time. That is exactly what Isopnisad says. In the previous verse, that's exactly what is said. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if one continuously works in that way, which means only accepting your quota and not accepting another's quota, which means doing your work in a dharmic way. So you can keep going on, keep going on, keep going on, keep going on. It will not lead to spiritual progress, or it will lead to very slow spiritual progress, but you will not get entangled in the law of karma, as in it will not harm you. You can use the law of karma to your advantage. Okay. So if you are so interested in all these topics, you must do Bhakti Shastri. We go through these books in detail and you can get a deep understanding. You can contact me if you want. Okay, next question. Can one... Let me paste it here. Can one request Lord Krishna to show mercy on people suffering in hospice? Yes. If you must increase your own devotion, and then Krishna will become in your control. Remember? Then Krishna is bound by what you say. If you become a pure devotee, Krishna has to do what you say. You say to Krishna, please cure these people. Krishna will say, sure, I don't know who they are, but because you are saying, I will do it. Krishna can do. Krishna is completely bound by his pure devotees. That is why in Vrindavan we all worship Radharani, not Krishna. Everybody says Radhe Radhe, not Krishna Krishna. Because Radharani is more merciful than Krishna. Her heart melts much quicker. So we are completely unqualified. We are rascals. But somehow we pray to Radharani. Please tell Krishna to give us, mercy. Radharani will say, please give him. Krishna will say, oh, he's such a rascal. But because you are saying, I have to give now. I don't know how he convinced you to tell me, but because you are saying, I am bound. To Maharaj Ambarish, not to Ambarish, to Durvasa Muni, he says, Lord Narayana says, remember in our Bhagavatam classes, Aham Bhakta Paradhino. I am a Paradhin. I am a subordinate of the Bhakta. Aswatantra. He calls himself Aswatantra. I am not independent. Aham Bhakta Paradhino. So I am in the control of my devotees. Paradhina. I am like a servant of the devotee. Servant says, do this. Like Arjuna. He was a driver. Arjuna says, go right. Krishna will go right. Arjuna says, go left. Krishna will go left. Isn't it? Isn't that what driver does? Okay. So you say to Krishna, please help these devotees in hospice. Krishna will say, sure. Okay. But the hard part is to become a pure devotee. Last question on the chat. How to realize that we did Vaishnava Aparadh and how to get rid of this? Very good question. Very good question. So, first of all, sometime or the other, we have all done Vaishnava Aparadh. One must sincerely try to recollect to whom they have done Vaishnava Aparadh. If you cannot recollect, and you have to assume you have done, you have to sincerely go and repent in front of an assembly of Vaishnavas, public repentance. I must have done, I'm sure I have done Vaishnava Aparadh. Please forgive me, and I vow never to do it again. That is most important. You have to throw your hat, as they say, on the other side of the wall. Make that commitment. Nobody should see you. Now, it doesn't mean you become the judge of others. You should never become the judge of others, but you should make everybody your judge. That is a pure devotee. He never does anything where anybody would say that he is doing Vaishnava Aparadha. Very, very careful. A pure devotee should consider he is always in everyone's microscope or telescope. Every time he's being watched, and he should never, and even when he's not being watched by others, he's always being watched by Krishna. So one should vow never to do Vaishnava Aparadha. And if you know that you have done, definitely you must go and beg for forgiveness at their feet. And if they have passed away, if they are no longer present in this world, then go and acknowledge in an assembly of Vaishnavas that to such and such person, I did such and such thing, but he's no longer present. So I humbly ask for your forgiveness on their behalf. And promise never to do that again. Okay, it is hard, very hard, but that is what it takes to eliminate or remove Vaishnava Aparadha. And take sincere shelter of the holy name. Sincere shelter of holy name, and do Hari Nama Kirtana. Okay? Okay, those are all the questions. Okay, any last minute parting comments? So if not, we will close it. We are already 7 minutes over time. Next week, people in India or anywhere else where no daylight saving, 1 hour early. Okay. Okay. Anything last minute? Okay. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Next week we will start chapter 8. What did you say? Chapter 8 is easy. What did you say? Easy. Death made easy. Or attaining the supreme. That is the name given by Srila Prabhupada. We should not make jokes about Bhagavad Gita. Sorry. Shouldn't do that. But anyway. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.